The biggest problem in pricing is people pick a price based on their self-worth, not based on what the market is willing to pay. The higher your perceived authority in a market, the more you can charge for your knowledge. Hey everybody, you are listening to The Monetize. I'm your host, Tim Conley, and I'm here with my good buddy and co-host, Pedro Moreno. What's up, brother?
I'm doing fine, Tim. And, we have recorded a couple of episodes, but still, we haven't gotten into the actual, purpose and the reason behind, why is this podcast called The Monetize? I mean, what's behind this title?
Yeah, I heard this phrase, or it came to me, I don't know where it came from, but it was monetize your mind. And it kind of resembled Naval's quote about productize yourself. And I thought, productizing yourself is a version of taking what you know and repackaging it in a way that can be consumed by a far greater number of people. And so it just popped in my head, monetize your mind. And I looked, monetizeyourmind.com was taken by somebody. And I was like, okay, what can I call this? And then I remembered the beginning of my podcasting journey was about setting up online businesses, how to do it, how to manage them, how to grow them. And a big topic back then was monetization. Like, how do you monetize in a niche? How do you turn what you want to do into a business? And the Monetize was born. And so it's a big topic that I'm really passionate about, and hopefully we can really help people monetize what they know, take what's in their mind and turn it into money.
And why do you prefer the monetizing your mind instead of Naval's idea of self-productization, if you will? Is there a difference there?
Not really. Productize gets, I think, a little closer. I just didn't want to steal Naval's stuff, really. Right. Because you're trying to turn knowledge into something consumable, which the best thing for consumption is a product. Because if you have a product like a book, a course, software, like if you can create a product, you can do it one time and then sell thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of versions of that product. Right. Whereas if you're just selling your knowledge directly to a client in the form of a service, then it's 1-to-1. Maybe it's 1-to-10, or if you get really crazy, you got 1-to-100. But I didn't want the Monetize to be just about productization, like just about products, because there are so many ways to monetize. You can monetize your knowledge through ads, sponsorships. Maybe one day this show will have sponsors and we'll be like raking in the cash just from talking to a screen, right?
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Would kick ass.
Yeah. And that's a form of monetization. And I think it's important that we figure out how to monetize in a way that best suits what we want out of life. Like, if I really think about it, do I want to be beholden to sponsors? Well, if they're aligned with me, but if they say, hey, Tim, we don't want you talking about this one particular topic because we don't like that. And if you talk about it, we won't advertise. Right. Like, well, then I guess you're not advertising, because I do, like, that's something that I'd be like, do I really want to go down this route?
Yeah.
But then I might say, Pedro, what we really should do is there's these products we use. Why don't we be affiliates of those products and then tell people on the show, hey, use this product because we really like it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But now, coming back to monetizing your mind, I'm wondering, does this apply to just about anyone? Because I've had some issues like wrapping my head around this very topic, me as owning or as owner of a podcasting agency, where my mindset has during a long time has been on the product, the service that I do. And it's been hard on me to remember the principle of transferring knowledge and even being able to sort of identify what knowledge is that I can transfer to my client that can be valuable for them. So I'm wondering, for someone like me, is this applicable or not?
Well, it is applicable because there was a key there in what you were saying. I have knowledge, I just don't know how to transfer it outside of services.
Yeah.
So monetizing your mind isn't for people who don't have knowledge. That's it, right?
Yeah,
If you don't know something that other people wish to know, if you can't solve, a better way of saying it is, if you can't solve someone else's problems by what you know, then you probably are not a fit for this. But I've not met anybody like that. Like going old school, way back at the beginning of my career, I helped people with all kinds of businesses, from retail to even scrapbooking. I think we talked about this in one of the other episodes, like with my old podcast, scrapbooking. Like, it's like, that's knowledge. They had a solution to a problem that people wanted solved.
Yeah.
And they were able to monetize that. And that's the biggest thing is, do you know something that can solve someone's problem? And then we can figure out, oh, is this the best way of doing it? Do you want to do a book? Do you want to do a course? What format does it take? That's a different question. That's a business model question, and maybe we'll get into that a little later.
When you're talking about this, the very first type of people who come into my mind is like fitness or trainers, essentially, because they do like these programs and they have like their clients and maybe they're they're too close to their own knowledge and their abilities to solving problems that they cannot see that transfer of money. Yeah, not money, transfer of knowledge.
Yeah, there's that old saying that you can't read the label on the bottle from the inside.
Right.
Right, because bottle's over there, the label's on the outside, you can't see it, you're looking at the back of it.
Yeah.
This is something that's really common. One of the things that smart people get into, and I think a lot of it's experts, like you become an expert at something and you forget about beginner's mind. You forget that what you know, other people don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I still do this, where I just say stuff assuming a lot of background knowledge by to like, even on talking on this podcast, I just start talking and I forget, like, oh, I should probably start at the very beginning.
Right.
And show like how I got to what I'm talking about right now. Like, my brain, everything just says, oh, don't do that. Like, that's so pedantic. Don't do that. But I have to realize that I'm talking to people who may not actually know what I know.
Yeah.
And all experts succumb to this to some extent. And like, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was saying, oh, I've got all this content that I've done for my members and my clients over all these years. A lot of it's like really good. I just don't know what I should package and resell outside of what my customers, my clients and members are getting. And I said, the one thing that you do, and you've never sold it, you give it away for free at conferences where you speak, is your offer structure. So he would give this talk at conferences. I've seen him do it like a dozen times at different conferences where we both spoke at. And he would say, here's how to structure your offer. And we're going to make an offer during this talk. And everybody would write their offer, and he'd give them examples up on the screen, like write this email and adjust it for your people. And if you got questions about, your niche or your particular customers, then raise your hand and I'll come around and we'll craft your offer. He's got these talks recorded. He has transcripts of these talks. He's got all the email examples. And the crazy thing is, every time he does this, someone makes money while it's still happening. While everybody's sitting there still working on crafting an email, someone has already sent out emails to people and gotten a response, had to walk out of the room, take a phone call and close the deal and then come back in. Every time. And it's like, why are you not selling that? Like, you could package that up and sell that for $250, $500, and you would sell thousands of them because it works every single time.
Right.
Right. And he never once thought to sell that.
Yeah. That's a great example of being too close to even see it. But Tim, how do we go about monetizing our minds?
Okay. Yeah. Let's turn this into a framework that people can use. Well, first thing is, don't overcomplicate it. The best place to make money is where you're already making money. Don't try to enter into a new space. Don't go, I don't really like what I do. I want to do something completely different. And I want to serve a completely different customer base. Don't do that. Just start with what you already know, because one of the things that, if you're a little frustrated, a little bored with where you're already making money, one of the things that happens, and this is kind of a tangent, I shouldn't do it, but I think it's important that when you begin to master a subject, you become passionate about it. It's not something you're passionate about something and then become a master. It's as you master something,
right,
you become passionate about it.
Yeah.
And if you're getting a little bored with the way you're currently making money, maybe you really should, jump to a completely different place. But odds are, like 90% chance that the best place for you to make money is where you're already making money. If you don't have a business and you've got a job, what do you do? What do you know at your job? Because somebody's paying you for what you know and what you can do at your job. You're solving a problem. And so that's the very next part is start where you're at, but then you have to solve problems. So if you're wanting to start a business, that's your problem. That's not the market's problem.
Indeed.
If you are in business and you want to monetize your mind, that's your problem, not your market's. So you need to find real problems that people are willing to pay money to solve. And you can look around. You can go, I'm not really sure of what I know. What are people already buying? You can go look around. Are there books on the very thing that you know? And people are buying those books. Are there already courses? Are there products that solve the thing that you know how to do? Which might be like something as simple as like Excel. Like I use Excel every single day and I know all kinds of crazy formulas and stuff like that. People have made millions teaching people how to use Excel.
And we can even go to our current clients and customers and just ask them. Like, maybe you have like a vague idea of what other problems they might be having, or those little things that maybe you need to bill more hours or increase the scope of the project to be able to fit those problems within your service. But if maybe you can find a way to maybe train them on how to solve those problems by themselves, and you can identify like that as a the main way for you to transfer your knowledge on how to solve that problem into your client as well. So
Right.
one thing that I see like successful people and be curious about it, and just openly ask, like, is this something that you'd be interested in solving and seeing a way that can be fixed? And if so, if you actually have like a market, then you can go ahead and develop that package essentially, right?
Right. Right. I had a client that had a service that they had people paying for, and it wasn't very profitable. It was really annoying. They were doing community management for their advertising clientele. So
Oof.
they had these advertising clients, and they had developed a program where they would engage with their uh, their clients' market,
Mm-hmm.
and they called it community management.
Right.
And they thought it would be a great product, and they got a lot of their clients buying it, but it turned into this immense time suck. It was using a lot of their team's time to go in and keep everybody engaged and
Yeah.
write the right content and all this stuff. And so what we did was like just turned it into a product that they could then sell. So what we did was create a transition. How about you craft a workshop, and all your clients are going to pay to attend to this workshop so they can learn how to create a community management team in-house.
Mm.
And then you're going to add either monthly or quarterly meetings to help their in-house team come up with ways to engage with their community.
Right.
And they were like, "Do you think it'll work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. Let's just do it." I had no idea. Uh, I knew the workshop would work. I didn't know if they would really buy the quarterly strategic meetings,
Mm-hmm.
but they had 20 of their clients sign up immediately.
Nice.
And they were like, "Okay, now we can drop the actual service."
Right.
Because then anyone who wanted them to keep doing the service, they would say, "Oh, come to our workshop. Like we're this is not a service that we're going to continue doing."
Yeah.
The guys from Basecamp, the software Basecamp, they called it selling your byproducts, where there's stuff that you do that that you're not selling right now. You're just not selling it to your clients. Like my friend who had a talk that he just never sold that is incredibly popular, and he just has never sold it. It's a byproduct of something that he does. And you may have this already in your business where you're doing something and no one pays for it. It's valuable, but no one's identified it as a product all to itself. And I did it with back in my very first product I ever created was from a service. We had a webmaster service where we would update the websites of our clients, and it was annoying. We hated it. And it was frustrating for our clients because they had to wait on us to get things updated. And we created an entire training program that we licensed to our clients. And instead of having all of our clients send their team members to an in-house, like a in-person training, instead of sending them for like 2 days to learn how to do everything, they had a course, an online course that they could go through, and it showed them step by step how to do the thing that they needed to do right then. They didn't have to learn the whole website. They just
Yeah.
needed to go in, and I just needed to do that one thing. And everybody was happier. We made more money because we were able to, even though we charged less money for the online training program versus the in-person training, it costs us far less to serve our client in a better way. And that was just a byproduct of something that we were already doing in the business. And we were able to turn that into a knowledge product.
A question there, because we're talking a lot about transferring knowledge from us to a client,
Uh-huh.
but does this packaging may also apply to our knowledge, transferring, licensing it, packaging it to people within our industry as well? Meaning, say I have like a specific workflow to edit podcasts.
Mhm.
Maybe can I package that knowledge and transfer it to people who are producing podcasts as well?
Yeah. We did this with an advertising company that I had invested in. They did Facebook ads for the construction industry. And we created a knowledge product, a program, and sold it for a lot of money. And we'll talk about money in a little bit. We sold it for a lot of money, and it was able to go out to far more people than we could serve as clients.
Right.
We were able to sell a lot more to more of this thing we created one time. We were
Yeah.
able to sell it a lot more than we were able to do just for our clients. So what you know is best is, like, you want to be able to monetize your mind far more and far further than right in your client base. Because if you just stay with your client base, the stuff you're doing one-on-one, you're just never going to make the kind of money or have the freedom that you can get from, as Naval says, productizing yourself.
This idea popped into my head right when I sort of like onboarded some team members, and I was teaching them the way that I have my workflow to work with clients, and they had like this feedback for me that they really appreciated the workflow that I had laid out, because it helped them order their workflow as well. And at that moment I realized, like, oh, well, maybe who had known that maybe I could even sell, like, yeah, this is the process where we receive the raw materials and the raw footage, and then we do all of this to deliver the final product. And some agencies may be interested in that as well. But you mentioned talking about money and pricing. Can we get into that?
Money. It's one of those funny things. Like, here, the name of this show is called The Monetize. We're going to talk about money a lot and the issues that people have with money. And specifically in pricing, I've seen the biggest problem in pricing in my career is people pick a price based on their self-worth, not
Right.
based on what the market is willing to pay.
Right.
And it's a massive disservice. People look around and they go, that I don't think I could serve people at this particular level. I don't know enough to be able to charge this much money at the higher end of the market. There's the lower end of the market. I think I could do better than that. So I'll pick in the middle. Do you know what? Everyone thinks they are picking the middle. Everyone. Everyone thinks that the price that they have picked is in the middle. They go out and look around for stuff that they believe is the middle, and then they pick that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Pricing is one of the most emotional things anyone ever does in business.
Yeah. Because we're often like selling to like our own wallet, and judging from our very own perspective. Is someone going to value what I do enough to be able to pay me this? And then we do one of the things that I hate the most, which is negotiating with ourselves even before
Yeah.
negotiating with a client. And that is like one of, at least for me, one of the worst feelings that I have whenever I'm pricing something new.
Right, right. That's funny that you said about that, because nearly everyone who's selling a service will think, "Oh, I wonder if they'll pay this. It seems a little high." And so they start knocking the price down before they've ever spoken to the person about the price.
Yeah.
Let the customer tell you that the price is too high. And if it's a service, you can decide whether or not you wish to negotiate, but don't negotiate without the customer, right? So in pricing, in pricing your knowledge, pricing your mind, this is one of the amazing things about it, is that there is no market rate. So if you podcast editing, well, you can go on to Upwork and look for audio editors or video editors, or a combination of both, like somebody
Yeah.
who can edit a video audio podcast like what we're doing right now. You can go find them, and you can find people charging as little as $4 an hour, and you can find people who are charging $200 an hour.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, where's the market bear? Well, most people are charging somewhere around $25 or $30 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you focus just on a Western country, like Canada or the United States, you might find it's averaging about $60 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, there's what the market is setting up. Like, this is what the market's paying, because these people are getting work, right?
Yeah.
And knowledge has nothing to do with the market. It is all what the customer perceives the value to be.
I want to take just a small moment here, because this, what you just said, it translates to no matter where people are, no matter the market where they are, price shouldn't be bound to that middle ground for monetizing your mind. And essentially,
Right.
Essentially, it sort of ties down to the point that you just made, which is self-value and self-worth.
Yes.
And I would add to that, holding your ground and being confident on the price that you're communicating your client this to be, with your capability to actually delivering what your promise is. Am I right there, Tim?
Right. Yeah. If you're not capable of solving somebody's problem, whatever price you charge is going to be too much.
Right.
But if you can actually solve their problem, now the price you can charge is based upon how well you solve the problem. And with knowledge, you're not specifically solving you personally are not solving the problem. Your knowledge is being transferred to that person, and then the person is solving it themselves.
So essentially, there's no ceiling to what we are packaging, or what we're packaging really has no ceiling, or no perceived ceiling, at least. No
Right.
market cap. And then our income can look many ways differently, right?
Right. So back to the Facebook advertising company.
Mm-hmm.
When we created the product, we sold it for $6,800. But our service started at a minimum of $36,000.
Mm.
So $6,800 is kind of a deal, right? But it's a product that they have to they have to go in and learn how to do our Facebook advertising system that we had.
Right.
And we weren't going to sell our system cheap, because it made a lot of money for all of our clients. But this way they could buy it and have their marketing managers learn about Facebook advertising. Or if they were a smaller company, the owner could learn how to do our level of Facebook advertising all by themselves, and then they could start building their business because they couldn't afford our services. And so 6,800 was where we started. Then we added like a couple of seats or something. It was like a couple of seats, and so we charged 8,600 for additional seats. And I can't remember where we topped out as a price for that product. And I've done it with a variety of things. And I keep saying product, and I want to step away just from that for a second. So I've taken my knowledge and turned it into courses. And those courses have been the foundation of memberships, where I would create a mastermind and we would go through the content of that mastermind. So the course would cost so the one that I had, the course itself cost $4,500, which, somebody might be thinking that's a lot of money for a course, right? But then the group program was $15,000.
Right.
Later, I upped the group program to $25,000 because we started doing a lot more additional stuff than was originally in that first course. So having my knowledge in a variety of forms allowed me to serve different customer segments within the same market.
Right.
And I'm able to charge a lot of money based upon the customer's perception of my ability to solve their problem.
Right.
And we have a name for that. We call it authority. The higher your perceived authority in a market, the more you can charge for your knowledge. It's crazy because it's just knowledge, right? But this is how people buy. This is how people wish to spend their money. Because in a lot of cases, your best clients, your best customers are going to want to spend a lot more than you're asking. Mm-hmm. They would spend more money because then they feel they're going to get the Gucci of this brand, this solution. They're not getting the Walmart cheap brand of this product. No, they're getting the designer version of this product. You will find that there is somebody out there willing to pay you 4 to 10 times what you're charging now for the exact same thing you're doing now.
And this is really interesting because it comes into play on the different packaging that you can have to your knowledge, essentially, and how you can, when you have some different ways to package it, some say different products and different price tiers, then we can come into presenting like a panorama of the income that you may have within a year, depending on how you market and sell those different products that you have packaged, right?
Right. I call that clients, members, and customers. Mm-hmm. So in my world, there's a lot of client work. I'm an executive business coach. I have a lot of client work. But then I have members. They join a group program where we work together. And so each group gets less of my attention. And then my customer group, the people who buy my products, they don't get any attention. They're just purchasing my knowledge in some format. All three of those are in the exact same market.
Right.
There's too many people who try to serve like clients in this market, members in this other market, and customers in the third market. And that will just drive you crazy. And because you're essentially running 3 separate businesses. But if you focus in this exact same market, if somebody's interested in your knowledge and they're just not quite sure they want to drop, $50,000, then okay, I'll buy your product and learn a bit more about what you know and see if it solves one of my problems. Or I'll jump into your mastermind and I can commit, $25,000 a year to this program, that kind of thing. And each segment inside of your market gets to decide, because what they want is a solution to their problem. They don't
Essentially.
need you specifically they just need the solution, but they believe your solution, your authority, they believe your solution is far better than someone else's, hence being able to charge a premium for what you know.
So,
And this goes in, it literally, okay, last thing, and I'll let you talk. Sorry.
just a quick question.
This
but yeah,
goes
go ahead.
to every market. Every market has levels to their experts and authority. The higher your authority in a market, the more you're able to charge in everything. There's no industry where that is not true.
Yeah, and for instance, you shared the example of the scrapbooking community, which is a crazy example, but there it is. And an example that popped into my head about these different tiers of packaging might be like, for instance, say you have a podcast and you jump into a membership area, which is say $25, and then you may have like a proper course, which might be like $200, and then you might have like a one-on-one type of coaching call or program, which might be $20,000. So
Right.
is that like a good example of how this three model would look like?
Exactly.
Mhm.
And the pricing is dependent upon your level of authority and how big of a problem you actually solve for your customer base. That's
Right.
it. That is pricing. And I know we didn't say specific prices, like you should charge this much, because that's not how it works. Like if I told you to charge this dollar amount, then you'd
Yeah.
be like, well, Tim said I should charge this dollar amount.
Yeah.
And you could be leaving so much money on the table because you might be an amazing authority in your space and could be charging 10x the price that I just threw out.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why we talked about the methodology of pricing, the mentality of pricing versus the actual price. But then let's get into what really matters is income,
Mhm.
right? Like how much money do you wish to make? And this part of my framework is, I think, really key, because very few people really figure out how much money they should be making. You and I
Right.
had a very similar conversation before I invested into Lumen.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I want to make." I can't remember the number, and I said, "Well, how does that affect what you really want out of life? Is that enough?"
Yeah.
And you started telling me about like visiting your parents, your relatives in the United States. Like
Yeah.
you started talking about, and I'm like, how much is that going to cost? Right? I think
Yeah.
maybe you need to set your sights a little higher, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You instruct me to do the Dreamline exercise
Yeah.
from Tim Ferriss, and I found like a website that they had like a structured like questionnaire, and that would do like its formula and stuff, and you said to me, okay, well, this is great because this is essentially the base. From here, it's like everything that comes on top of this is just the cherry on top.
Right. Right.
You can actually see that number might not be as big as you might imagine in your head to be.
That's like an important part of pricing, is knowing how much money you want to make. So say you want $250,000 for your own income. You probably need a $1 million business to do
Mhm.
that. In the product business, if you're not just selling your labor. If you're selling your labor, you might be able to get $250,000 a year with 300,000 in total sales or something. That might be possible if you're a consultant or something. but you want to make 250,000, so you need to make $1 million. If you're netting, so say you have a book and you put all your knowledge into a book and you can sell it for like $28 on Amazon, you're going to net about $10 off of that $28 book, self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to make $1 million a year. Well, that you're going to have to sell 100,000 books. Yeah, which it's like, that's just not going to happen. Like you listening might be the ultra rare case that's going to sell 100,000 books, but nearly all books never break 5,000 in their lifetime.
Right.
So I wouldn't put a lot into that. But then if you want to work on just like one client, I'll charge $1 million for that one client. And is it possible? Yeah, there. If you have a solution to a big enough problem, there's a customer out there that will pay you $1 million to solve it for them. If it's a big enough problem for them, like if it's a $10 million problem, they will pay you $1 million if they believe you can solve it. So how many would you need to get? Just the one. But let's get into like the reality, something that you, listener, can believe. Can you sell 1,000 of something at $1,000? Maybe if you've got, like in the podcasting world, guaranteed, you could develop a program based on your pre-production system that you have for your clients. You could package that up and sell it for $1,000 all day long. And people would buy it because now I have the system for pre-production for all my episodes.
Right.
Like, that's fantastic. I would love to have that. And so somebody would buy that for at least $1,000 in the podcasting space.
Right.
In the scrapbooking space, would you be able to sell 1,000 of something at $1,000? Maybe if you had like, I don't know, I can't even think of anything. And I helped a lot of scrapbookers, and I can't think of anything. I'm sure if any of them are still listening to this day, that maybe they could tell me what they could sell for $1,000 to 1,000 people. But most likely, you're in a space where there's a big enough problem. Somebody would be willing to spend $1,000 for it. In my idea of clients, members, and customers, for the longest time, I've said with a client, you should have a minimum acceptable fee of $25,000. Preferably $25,000 in the shortest amount of time possible, but $25,000 in a year or less. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, just the math. 10 clients at $25,000 is $250,000. If you then do 100 members at $2,500, you put 100 members into a group of some kind, a mastermind or a group training program, or even a week-long workshop or something, and they pay $2,500. That's another $250,000. And then you have customers. You get 1,000 customers paying you $250, which for many courses, you could sell a course for $250 that requires no input of your own time into that after you've sold it. Yeah. You could sell 1,000 of those at $250, and now you're at a $750,000 business. For me, well, I charge a lot more than $25,000 for my clients. I charge a lot more for my members by like 10x the amount from my members. And then on my customers, I have programs as low as, I don't know, like some stuff for like $50, but I have some that are in the thousands. And the idea is not so much that you have one price, is that you have a lifetime value, or at least an annual value per customer of at least $250, or maybe $2,500. Maybe your customers spend $2,500, and your members spend 25,000 and your clients spend 250,000. I've got clients in agency space. One guy specifically in cybersecurity, they charge $250,000 to $500,000 for what they do for their clients.
Mm.
It's like you don't need very many of those to be a 7-figure business.
Right. And then with that, the way that you package those tiers, then can you play a little bit on the velocity on which you have that income coming in?
Yeah. I like how you've heard me talk about velocity of money.
Right.
This is a concept very few people ever talk about. The faster money comes to you, the better your life is going to be. So you could make, we just talked about making $1 million. Like, so one client at $1 million or some variation, right?
Yep.
But if that $1 million takes you 10 years to get,
Mm-hmm.
that's not as good as getting $1 million in 1 year. $1 million in 1 year is not as good as getting $1 million in 1 month.
Right. Yeah.
And 1 month is not nearly as good as getting it in 1 day. So velocity of money is something that you should focus with, because and I bring this up a lot with experts because they have a lot of services and even the way they go about selling their products that are designed to be slow, for money to come to them slowly, instead of figuring out, how do I get this money faster? I've watched so many people in the agency space go to what they believed was productized services. And all it was an installment plan that people could cancel at any time.
Mm.
Like, they used to get, say, $25,000 for the project, and now they're getting $2,000 a month over the course of a year. And so they're trying to figure out, well, what do I do every single month for my client? And then the client cancels after 4 months. So they went from making $25,000 from a single project to making $10,000 total. Right?
Yeah.
That happens so much because they're not thinking about the velocity of money. And so you need to figure out, how do I get this money faster? So if you're selling a product, then doing a product launch is a great way to get more money in faster than just putting it up for sale and then letting it, customers show up periodically.
Right.
It actually crafting an event to sell that product
Right.
will get you money faster. I used to
Yeah.
do this back in 2006 to when I semi-retired in 2008. I did a bunch of product launches for clients.
Mm.
And this was amazing to see people bring in $1 million in a single day,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's like we put weeks into developing the launch, and then in one single day, $1 million would come in. And then in the course of a week, when that product was being hyped, we would bring in maybe another $2 million for the rest of the week. But that first day was amazing. It was intoxicating seeing money come in that fast.
Right. Yeah. This reminds me of something that Alex Hormozi talked about on his book, $100 Million Offers, which was essentially packaging an offer and tying it to events on the calendar. So like launching on, say, Labor Day, launching on X date specifically, like having an actual calendar of like relaunching the product with a new sort of like excuse maybe, but being able to have that purposeful scheduling in there to be able to just as you say, maybe hike things up and
Right.
have that velocity of money in there to really milk that launch as well.
Yeah, I see it as turning somebody's anxiety into urgency. Because when you're dealing with a client, you can really determine what their level of urgency is. But when you're selling knowledge products, when you are taking what you know and forming it into a different, packaging it into a different form, then people don't have urgency to buy it. A handful do, because like they're in that problem right now and they need to solve it right now. But other people, they just have an anxiety about that problem.
Right.
They haven't really sat down to think about how they're going to solve it and stuff. It's like this low grade anxiety that's just bugging them. And then you come along, be like, hey, I got a solution. I'm the top authority in my market for this solution. And here is why you should buy it now. And you turn that unconscious anxiety into urgency. And that's how you speed up the process of getting money into your business. And like, this is like, if you just follow the steps that we've talked about, if you follow those steps, you will build an amazing business model from stuff that you already know. You will be able to take processes that you're already doing in your work and turn those into products and be able to sell it over and over and over again to your market. And I guess that's what monetize your mind means.
Yeah, I mean, you just sort of like invited me to changing how Lumen works as well, because maybe I have to package that pre-production workflow essentially, and then try and get 1,000 customers to that offer, and then get $1 million. But
Yeah.
it sounds very doable, actually, to having, identifying that what is it on my business that I can really transfer to a client that they will have a ton of value from, and that they can follow that guide to implement. And then I think, at least for me, the two biggest issues there that I have just personally is coming up with the right package for that product, for that knowledge, and the right pricing to it.
Right.
And then it sounds actually fun to have those strategies, to have that velocity of money, and coming up with the marketing campaigns and what the hype is going to be about. But yeah, I mean, this was such a great episode, Tim. Thank you.
That's awesome, because I think you have something available for sale that customers are already paying for. You've already got clients who pay for pre-production, and it's something that everybody needs when they're doing a podcast, when they're going to create a podcast, or even if they already have one, if they want to up the game on their podcast.
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
why not make it easier for them to get that knowledge? Because once they buy that knowledge, now they're going to see Lumen as the go-to authority to solve their podcasting problems.
Right.
Because they've already gone through a program that solved a big issue inside their own business. So that's one of the best reasons why you monetize your mind, is you get greater reach than what you can do with just a client. Say you serve 20 clients a year.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all you get. That's your entirety of your reach with your knowledge. But if you package it into different forms, you could reach thousands of people. And the more people who know of you and have had their problems solved by you, by your knowledge, the greater your authority becomes, and the higher demand comes for your business. So your business is, you got a demand for, say, 20 clients a year or something. And then all of a sudden you've got a demand for 50 clients a year. And you're like, I don't have room for you, but I'll charge you a whole bunch of money and I'll still keep 20 clients.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
they go, okay, because you are the solution. You are my solution to this problem, because the market has told me that that's the case. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode and got value out of the framework on monetizing your mind. And we will talk to you in the next episode.
See you, everyone.
Break.